So this is actually a project that we did in Ghana, and moving from the sort of big picture, questions about effectiveness, going back into the weeds on actually implementing them and seeing how it works on the ground. I have to give a big shout out to Chris Stoughton, my colleague, who would have loved to have been here to actually present this. He did the presentation, he did the work. He's the man of the hour. He's currently in another country working on an election there that is coming up in Southern Africa. So open data in Ghana's election, it's some observations about our actually on-the-ground experience on how it worked. So we couldn't get data, so we had to get the data. Ghana is part of the Open Data Partnership. However, it has not made any kind of election data available, so we had to scrape it and collect it. So we had observers all over Ghana. In the last election, this was in 2012, Ghana is a country that has a stable democracy. In 2008, there was a change in leadership, which was shortly after the Kenya 2007 very violent election, and so there was a great worry. It went very smoothly, and in 2012, the partner that we had, CODEO, the election organization that does domestic observation, was actually quite competent. So we deployed people all over. We needed a magic tool to connect the data that fit all of those criteria. And of course, what is that but our simple mobile phone? So we had questionnaires that looked like this, with observers at the polling stations, randomly selected sample that is a large enough number to be statistically significant. So we were essentially doing what's called a parallel vote tabulation that gives election results and incidence data in real time. The SMS that were transmitted from that questionnaire, the structured SMS transmitted via mobile phones, looked like this. They, the observers, standing there from 6 o'clock in the morning to 8 o'clock at night, would text this information to a short code. The data would be parsed in a database on the end. And this is kind of what that looks like. This is the data center in Accra. So then we had lots of fun with charts and graphs, analyzing the data because raw data is useless. We needed to figure out, did we have a big enough sample? Was there, were there any incidences? And then at the end of the day, what were the actual election results? So we had data at the end of the day on the conduct and on the results of the election in Ghana. The same thing happened in Kenya just now. We worked with a partner there. This is what NDI is known for. So now what? We got the data, and what's the point, right? This is the if an election falls in a forest and no one hears it problem, and the tree is particularly wonderful. Thank you, Chris, for that. So we actually used radio to disseminate information about the election process and actually provide civic information in the advent of it, using a lovely tool called Freedom Found, which NDI is very fond of. We produce little audio clips on how to vote, where to find your polling station, how to register, what is a PVT, why is this important, etc. We distributed them to rural radio stations all over that could dial into those radio reporters, community radio reporters could dial into a server, literally record or play the audio clips on in real time, and it was accessed over 600 times. We don't actually know how many of those actually ended up on the radio, but it was a way to distribute information on election information sort of effectively into rural areas. We also use social media like crazy. We bought Facebook ads like you wouldn't believe. Facebook ads are really cheap, and disseminated all sorts of information that way. We increased our reach quite a bit. Of course, Facebook is, in many countries, still the purview of media, the elite, and influencers, but those are important ones to access. And then we did lots of data analysis and visualization, or visualization of the data analysis. We did not provide the raw data. There's reluctance on a lot of the part of our partners to actually provide raw data. We wish that the election commissions in all of these countries would provide historical data. So we, as you can see there, we had layers of 2008 and 2012 data, and we literally had to scrape PDFs, in the darkest of hours right before the election because we couldn't get that data. And let me repeat, Ghana is part of the Open data partnership, no open data that we could find. So I'm actually ahead of time. So thank you very much. Love to talk more about it, as well as the other projects that we are presenting. Thanks.